from New York, I'm Lawrence O'Donnell in for Keith Olbermann. As if it were not welcoming enough that in this great experiment we call democracy, anyone is allowed to roam the halls of congressional office buildings to drop in on lawmakers unannounced. Today, members of the House were instructed to greet their uninvited Tea Party protester guests with light snacks, water, and coffee. It is not clear if the Tea Partyers consumed their refreshment with the full realization that some of them were paid for, no doubt, with the very taxes that they just love to protest against. A much smaller crowd than expected showed up for today's rally on Capitol Hill to kill healthcare reform. Freedom Works' Dick Armey's group that organized the protest, which makes the event fake grassroots, told CNN that somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 people were on hand. That's the biggest number they could come up with to exaggerate turnout. The Democratic National Committee, in comparison, places the number of protesters at only 300. Today's award for most inappropriate sign goes to President Obama climbing into a coffin next to the words, "Kill the bill." At the start of the rally, Michelle Bachmann said her favorite Tea Party sign is one from September's protest that read, "Grandma's not shovel ready." As good a segue as any for Bachmann to repeat the lie that the elderly will be denied care if the Democrats' bill becomes law. Louis Gohmert of Texas took a graphic approach to claim falsely that the bill funds abortion.
I brought the bill that's being talked about. Now, I don't want to offend anybody. I'm sure that there are people here who think abortion is okay, and I don't want to make you sick, but I brought an abortion to show you today. There's a whole lot of demon going on. There's a lot of demons around here, apparently.
A doctor at the rally told Talking Points memo that Speaker Nancy Pelosi should be tried for treason because the self-executing rule known as Demon Pass is unconstitutional.
Treason and trying Nancy Pelosi for treason, is that something that you think that should be done? Explain that position.
Sure, if she votes for the bill, because it has nothing to do with being constitutional. When you deem a bill, that's not how the House of Representatives is supposed to pass a bill.
But you
have the courage to vote on the bill.
And you'd call that treason?
I would call that stepping on the Constitution. And when you take an oath to uphold the Constitution and you don't, yeah, I think you should be tried for treason.
That man may be a good doctor, but he needs to get his hands on a high school government text fast and go straight to the section on the Supreme Court, which is still kept very busy by Republicans and Democrats in local, state, and federal government who continue to enact laws of questionable constitutionality. No legislators have yet been charged with treason for having done so. Lots to talk about tonight with Howard Fineman, MSNBC political analyst and senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, today Steve King of Iowa called for another velvet revolution. He told the Huffington Post that he wanted the Tea Partiers to storm this city, fill this city up, fill this city, jam this place so full that they can't get in, they can't get out, and they will have to capitulate to the will of the American people. Howard, how did that work out for Steve King today? Could you get in and out? Yeah. Were you able to move around at all?
Yes, I was moving around both inside the Capitol and out on the grounds, especially out on the East Front. And I didn't see a lot of capitulating going on. I did talk to some Tea Partiers who told me they were disappointed by the crowd. I talked to a guy who'd driven out all the way from Missouri, gotten a flat tire on the way, got there just in time for the thing to be winding down. He said he was very disappointed by the crowd. It's the standard issue, but the sort of the low tide of the standard crowd, Lawrence. You had the hardline abortion, pro-lifers. You had the take up the guns crowd. You had the people who think that Nancy Pelosi's trying to ruin not only the current currency but the Constitution. It was the usual suspects, only very few of them.
Now, the last time they did this, it seemed to be all the encouragement the House needed to actually go and pass the bill. Going by their record on these pre-vote protests, it's not going so good. But is the big drop in turnout about organization, is about a sense of fatalism that this thing is going to pass and there's nothing they can do? Or is it a drop in energy and interest in this subject?
Well, I think it's a combination of all those things, Lawrence. I think there is a sort of done deal sense, even though the vote's really close, as we'll be tracking all the way up till, whenever, midnight Saturday in the House. I think there's a sense that it's a done deal. I think Barack Obama, by his sheer persistence, and the House leadership and the Senate leadership on the Democratic side, by their sheer persistence and willingness to pursue this, have to some extent, I think, exhausted the opposition. And you worked in the Congress, I covered the Congress and legislatures. At some point, everybody says, okay, let's vote. Let's vote. And that's sort of where we are right now.
Howard, there's word tonight that Dennis Kucinich is holding a press conference tomorrow morning to announce his vote on health care reform. Now, he announced his vote on health care reform on this program to me, saying that he was absolutely going to vote against it again, having voted against it the first time, saying it does not do enough. Since then, the president flew to his district yesterday, gave that speech, talked about Natoma Canfield's plight. Natoma Canfield on this program last night from her hospital bed asked Dennis Kucinich to vote for this bill. Would he be holding a press conference to announce how he is going to vote if he is still a no vote, if nothing has changed?
Well, let's move from conjecture to what I think is going to happen, Lawrence. I have from some very good sources tonight that Kucinich is going to come out tomorrow in support of the bill. And I think that's going to be very important because it's all hanging in the balance right now. Dennis Kucinich happens to have stumbled into a key role here. And it's important not just for his vote, which I'm pretty sure now, based on my sources, is going to be yes, but because Dennis Kucinich will also supply a kind of heat shield for President Obama and even Nancy Pelosi from the direction of the left in the Democratic Party, who are dead set in favor of a public option in the bill. They're furious that the Senate version that's going to be voted on does not have the public option. I think not only will Kucinich say, I've reluctantly concluded I'm going to vote for it, but he's going to make the argument, which I think President Obama made to him in private, that this is just a first step, that Social Security began with small steps, Medicare began with small steps, and so this bill will be one step on the road to a public option. I think that's what he's going to say tomorrow.
We'll be watching the Kucinich press conference tomorrow morning. Howard Fineman of MSNBC and Newsweek, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.